And she was not talking. She was opening the mouth.
Okay, everybody.
They concentrate.
Okay, so before we speak about today's Rambam, we'll talk about today's Chumash, the story about light. The light, the story of Sodom and Amorah, like that we were speaking about earlier, that as soon as they came, light, which was Avram's nephew, went right away to the angels and said, "Come over to my house," because Avram, he taught light one thing, to be hospitable. Not only that, we're going to see in today's Torah portion, we learned that when the bad people came to take away the people to rape his guest, he said, "I'll give you my daughters. Don't take my guest." So you see how high he thought of his guests. He's right. I mean, I don't understand what he was thinking, but he'd rather give away his daughters than his guests. Actually,
Did
he have any nevuah?
No.
Because his daughters.
Eventually, yeah. Anyways, so what was Avram doing when he had guests? What was his mission? So not only to feed them food, Avram also inspired them to know about the Creator, because when Avram was born, nobody knew about the Creator. Everyone was serving idols. Then slowly convinced thousands of people, made books, convinced people that there is one God. How did he do it? So it says in the Gemara, and it explains more in the Medrash, that he had a hotel, restaurant. People came and ate, and then he said, "Bless." He said, he actually says in the Gemara, it says they went to Avram and said, "Thank you so much." He's like, "Don't thank me. It's not my meal." He's like, "What? Whose meal is it?" Hashem's, right? If the guy didn't want to bless Hashem because he said, "No, I believe in idols." So like, "Okay, no problem. Pay me because it's my meal." So okay, fine. How much does it cost? Like, a lot of money, because wine and meat in the desert, you can't find it anywhere. You can't have to pay me when the money they didn't have. They're like, "You know what? Okay, fine. Blessed is the Creator that gave me this meal." So the Rebbe asked, what did he gain by making them say these words for him? What did he do? What did he gain? Why did he need to do this whole game? So the Rebbe says a similar story from the Talmud, that there was a big Tana rabbi. His name was Rabbi Lazar ben Rabbi Shimon. I think he's talking about the son of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. He was riding on a donkey, and he was very happy because he learned a lot of Torah that day. He sees a very ugly person, and he says, the ugly person says, "Hello, Rabbi." So he didn't answer him. I'm not sure who told who, but he told him, "Whoa, you're so ugly." This is what the big rabbi said. This is the words of the Gemara. "You're so ugly. Everyone in your city is that ugly." So he told him, what did he tell him? Famous line: "Go to the Maker that created me." After he told him that, he got off his donkey, he lay down in front of him and said, "Please forgive me." So he said, "Don't ask me for forgiveness. Go to my Creator." So when you read the story, you're surprised. How could that?
Is it? We're supposed to make when we see someone like off the charts attractive, we're supposed to make a bracha. Isn't that the same bracha as if we see someone that's like, dude?
Could be. So no, actually, I'm not sure, but okay. So I don't think so. So the question is, why did this big rabbi say these words? How ugly? It doesn't make sense. Why would he tell a guy, "You're ugly"? There you go. So, like Misha said, but I'll say a different story which is similar. So the Rebbe Rashab, I said the story before already. When he started off being Rebbe, when he started, taking people into audience, so a guy came to me, needed a big blessing. He asked him, "Can you, save me? I need your help." So he told him, "Look, he heard the issue, very severe issue. He said, can't help you. Bye bye." So he walked out. You remember from what I said? Anyway, so he walked out. He was sobbing. So the Rebbe Rashab's older brother, he was a very, very righteous person, but he wasn't a Rebbe. So he saw this guy crying. So he's like, "Well, what's going on?" He's like, "Listen, I have this situation." And the Rebbe said he can't help me. So because it was in the beginning of his leadership, so his brother had the chutzpah, even though it was his older brother. There's many stories, very funny stories how they used to, tease each other when they were younger. So he goes to him and tells him, like, "This is nice. Come on, this guy, poor guy, right?" So then the Rebbe Rashab says, "Okay, call him back." Calls him back. He put in his gartel. He says, gives him a bracha, and a miracle happened. So what's the obvious question? Why didn't he? What's the whole point? Even more, let's say he couldn't help him. Come on, he couldn't say it in a nicer way, or could have told him words of, "Hashem can help you. I can't help you. Bye bye.
Which is the only gate that's open still.
Exactly. Always Hashem can help.
Yeah.
It says even when there's a sword on your throat, you should not stop asking for
Which gate's
Russia.
open?
tears. Oh, there you go. But it's not the answer the Rebbe says. So the Rebbe says that this person wasn't worthy for the blessing. He needed to make him into a new person. So he broke him, became a new person. He cried. He changed. He became a vessel for the blessing. So too with the story with this rabbi sitting on the donkey. He sees someone, and he wanted to, inspire him, connect him to God, but he saw he was so far. He needed to break him. So he told him, of course, he didn't mean physical beauty. That obviously we would talk about such things. Many times in the Torah, when we say beauty, we mean spiritual beauty. So he told them, "Is everyone in your city this ugly?" Right? Of course, if it was physical, I would even think that everyone in the same city would be ugly. It doesn't make sense, right? But in spiritual sense, yes, people affect each other spiritually. So he's like, "How ugly can you be?" And then the guy answered, "Go to my Creator." That he inspired by that question. He inspired the person to right away answer, "Go to my Creator." Yes, I have nothing, but I have a Creator that created me. So that's how he inspired. Same too is by Avram. Avram, when he started arguing with people, telling them, "Give me money," he wasn't start threatening them. He was breaking them. He was making them like, "Oh my gosh, I have a debt right now." When he was sort of making them like go down from the high horse, realizing maybe there's something I don't know, right? Because they're growing up their whole life. There's many gods, many gods, many gods, many gods. So for them to realize the reality that there's only one God, he's a bit shaking up. So that's what Avram did. He shook them up. So that's a lesson in general in life. The general lesson is that sometimes the Rebbe doesn't say this in this talk. I'm adding this from a different place. The Rebbe says sometimes when we have, something not so happy in our life, so we shouldn't wait till we go so low. As soon as it starts, we should right away take a lesson. We should right away change ourselves. React in the appropriate way instead of not realizing that it comes from Hashem, realizing right away it comes from Hashem, and that way we won't get to the next step and the next step and the next step. In the Navi in Tanakh, it always Hashem says, learn your lesson right away, so I won't need to continue with this, right? So as soon as we have the challenges right away, we should, of course, not be broken in the sense of low self-confidence, but broken in the sense of go off our high horse, realize there's something we don't know, something which we can learn, and that way we can jump the gun. Let me see what the Rebbe. Okay, but the Rebbe says a different lesson, not the lesson I just said. The Rebbe says a different lesson. The Rebbe says that we have to inspire. We have to be like Avram. We have to inspire every single person, especially every single Jew. But what if a Jew? There's no way you can inspire him, because again, these people before they were broken, they were uninspirable, right? We need to break them, right? So even those people, which you have to sort of break in order to get to them, even those people, we have to do all we can to get them inspired about God. And the Rebbe says that even if you need to pressure them, let's say somebody doesn't want to put on tefillin, he doesn't want to dive, whatever he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to keep Shabbos. You're trying to inspire him, but he doesn't want to get inspired. So if you can think in one hand like this guy's not interested. Why should I be a nudge? Why should I spam him? Right? Let him go. It's a free country. Nope. Of course, you have to be nice, but in a caring way. You have to try all your ideas, all your powers to inspire him about God. Just think of him as your own child. Obviously, if it's your own child and he decides he's going to try LSD, and I'd be like, okay, it's a free country. Go to the alleyway. You'll be like, you'll do everything you can, right? Of course, you're not going to lock him up in the house because it's not going to help, right? But and even let's say so the point is, right? If you really care about every Jew, and this is your mission in life, and this was Avram's mission, you will do every single thing, and even if he tells you, get away from me. So of course, you can't just, of course, you're not going to knock out, you'll try this way, try that way, try this way to inspire him, try that way to inspire him. But always there is a way. There always is a way to reach every single person. There's a story with my grandfather. He was trying to convince someone to put on tefillin every single day. It wasn't going. He went to the rabbi, he told the rabbi, this guy is very close to Jesus, but he doesn't want to put on tefillin. Then he went to the audience after my grandfather. He came out. He's like, "Where can I buy tefillin?" I was like, "What? What happened?" So the Rebbe could do whatever he wants, but he asked him, "What was the conversation?" So he said, "The Rebbe told me to put on tefillin." So I'm like, "Listen, I need breaks." He said, "Okay, fine. I'll give you Shabbos." So Who would think of that, right? But of course, if you really want to inspire, you can really get to every single person. There's always a way, right? The reason why people usually are rejecting something Jewish is not because they don't like Judaism. It's because something they don't like the way it's packaged. You just put it the right way, you can get to anybody. Okay. So today's Rambam.
Yeah.
You have a Rambam fan over here. What do you say? You think we should go to Sefer HaMitzvah, so we should stick with one chapter? Okay, so we'll discuss it later. We're talking to what?
I'm just going to short bar of the
There we go. Okay, so we're talking about tying on Shabbos. You're not allowed to make a tie, any tie which is everlasting. So that in order to do the malacha, what it says in the Torah you can't do, is you have to make a knot that's everlasting, which means you're planning on leaving this forever, and it has to be a professional knot, which is not just like a random knot. So those two. Now we are more stringent. The rabbis are more stringent, and you don't make any everlasting knot, and you don't make any professional knot, right? But for a shoe, like one bow. Now double knot, it's a discussion, but in general, if you're making a knot which you're going to open and it's not professional, that's fine.
So apparently, knots.
Yeah.
You can't mess with it at all.
Yes, because yeah. Even though the knot of the tzitzis for sure is an everlasting knot and it's professional knot. But when you pull it, I don't know. See, it doesn't say this in the Rambam over here, but in my head, like you're not really making the knot stronger. It's so strong, but you pulling it a little harder. It's always going to come loose and not loose. But I'm saying it's not like you're not the whole knot from beginning to end. You're not really. So, and also the last knot down the tzitzis is not so important. There's two usually in most tzitzis. So the last one usually, I don't know, but of course you shouldn't do it. Now on Shabbos when you check your talis, you might have to check your talis every day to make sure there's 8 tzitzis, and also make sure that all the knots are there and everything. So when you do it, you shouldn't separate it like this. Every day you check your talis before davening. You check, make sure there's 4, and then you separate because usually get tangled. You have to separate them, okay? And then you check. You say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what people do with the talis on their shoulder when they say Baruch Nafshi. Before that, they check every single one. You go through all, and then you separate them. On Shabbos, you check them, but you don't separate them. And for sure, you don't make it stronger knot. That for sure. Okay.
So would you advocate crazy gluing before Shabbos?
Crazy gluing what? No.
Crazy.
No. Like I said, it's not a big deal even if it opens up, because in the Torah it says you have to have 1 knot on your tzitzis. So as long as your tzitzis has up to here, you're good. So the rest of the thing is only doing a mitzvah better. And now you have to have the strings, that's true. But this whole thing over here is sort of extra. I mean, like it's not extra, but it's not from Torah.
Compulsively inclined.
If you're compulsive, what do you mean?
Compulsively inclined.
I don't know if you should even, in general, crazy glue your tzitzis, because your tzitzis are meant to be a knot, not crazy glue.
Yeah, crazy glue the knot.
Just make a big knot.
Yeah. You loosen it. Crazy glue.
So now the same thing is with the tzitzis. You can tell, okay. So every tzitzis is made out of 2 things, right? It's called the paisel in Lashon Kodesh. So let's say it opens up. I used to do it when I was a kid. I'm not bored enough these days, but it can open up the 2 edges and it can be like 2 sticks. You're gonna see whatever. This is new, but then it gets old after that. So you can make them. You can put it back together. That's in the Torah. Says you can't do it. That's part of making strings, which is something you can't do in the Torah.
You can do it on Shabbos.
You can't do it on Shabbos, obviously. During the week, if you're bored, go ahead.
Yeah.
If you make 2, you need sew 2 times, and you go in once and twice, like that. That is a malachim Torah. Now, if you are connecting 2 things together, which means you make a circle, even once is considered a malacha. If you are pulling the rope when you make the thing and then you pull it, that's also that itself is a malacha for itself.
Don't the sewing machines do this?
Well, the sewing machines you're not allowed to sew on Shabbos, obviously.
Oh, Shabbos.
Yeah, I'm talking about Shabbos. There's no Shabbos mode for a sewing machine.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to sew on Shabbos or one time?
What?
Only one time.
You can't? No. You for sure can. What's considered a malacha? Every malacha, it says all 39 have a shear, have a certain amount that when you do it, you're chayav. Obviously, you shouldn't do half. So now, by the way, regarding the knots, just like you can't make a knot, you can't open a knot. So now, if you say that double knots on Shabbos is considered a everlasting knot or a professional knot, and you want to do, then also you can't open it up. Right now, again, I don't know that's double knot. You have to. I'm not sure, but there's many knots you can think of in your house or whatever that if it's always there, you never open it up. Let's say you tie your blinds within. Let's say you tie them. There are such blinds. So if you tie them, then you shouldn't open them because you're never opening them in general unless when you clean your house once in 7 years, right? Or before Pesach. Just like you can't sew, you can't rip what you sew. If you rip in order to sew, you have to. So when you rip, I guess apparently you rip to sew. So if you rip in order to sew, you have to be the rip is amount as much as it takes to sew 2 times. If someone glues something together, like you were mentioning, it's considered like sewing, and therefore you're chaya. Of course, if you're gluing for it to stay like that, if you're just gluing because you're bored, then
If you glue before Shabbos, the mohawk came as well.
right. Now, if you rip stuff which are glued together, that's also a problem. So therefore, dealing with your Shabbos meal or anything like that, you have to be careful. You don't, like for example, what everyone knows is that you can't rip on the lines, right? It's not one of these malachas that you can't rip on the lines. You can't in the bathroom. You shouldn't rip on the lines. What?
You rip, it's the word chimney.
So now, in general, ripping on Shabbos. So now, when the stuff are glued together, also it's a problem to rip them apart.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Even if you don't break any words.
Even if you're not breaking words, ripping apart stuff which are glued together, even if it's not glued, but anything which is very sticky, I'm assuming that would be a problem. That's what it says over here. Now, here's something with a malacha which is very, very dangerous. Not dangerous, I'm saying it's very like probable. It's something which everybody gets stuck with, and people don't realize it's a malacha, and that is making a tent on Shabbos. Now, of course, we don't make it.
Same thing.
Yeah. So now, for example, a stroller is a discussion. Pulling out a stroller. So in general, the rule is if it is a tent which is only for a certain few hours, so as long as you started it before Shabbos, you start like a little bit is out, like a stroller, a little bit is out, then you can pull it out the rest. But so that's why if you, or for example, let's say if
hood, can you use hood?
no hood is not yeah, of course. Let's say you have on top of stroller these big plastics for the rain, that's for sure a tent, right? So if it's off and you're putting it on, there's a tent right there, right? Or let's say you want to build with your board on Shabbos, you want to build the tent with your kids out of stuff. We always did it in my house on Shabbos. My fellow was sleeping, so but like you make with the beds, you make. So it depends. I'm sure sometimes if it's really, really not strong, it's gonna fall in a second, then it's fine. But if it's a strong structure, then that would be a problem.
Can you put the garbage bag on the tray?
Garbage bag on what?
On yourself.
On yourself. It's not a tent. A tent is when if there's room. If it's closed, that's fine. If you're wearing a heavy hat, which is
I mean, can you take the garbage bag and you need to make a hole to put your hair?
that should be fine. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think so. Unless that would be no, that's fine.
Strollers, if you start before Shabbat,
That's fine.
it's a, and yet when you put it back in the car though.
In the car on Shabbos. Okay. Someone that makes a hole on Shabbos. So in general, you can't make a hole on Shabbos. If you make a hole in order that for stuff to go in and stuff to go out, that's a problem.
Yeah, no, the goal, put the hair.
Yeah. So regarding the garbage bag, the reason why I think it should be fine is because the garbage bag you're throwing it out as soon as you get to wherever you're trying to get to. But if you're trying to keep it, so for example, if you have a wine barrel or anything that needs a hole, right? So you can't make a hole through it. Even if you have something that stuffs, if you make the hole bigger, you can't even make the hole bigger, right? So you have to be careful. I mean, today we don't have a problem because you just open it and close it. But in the olden days when they had to, so also for example, if you make a hole, if you have a pet, if you have a house pet, you can make a hole. These days I don't know if it's a thing. But you make a hole in the box for air to go in and out. That's also.
How about a beer can? Like the ones that have the tabs.
Okay, so now cans is a discussion, not because of this, but so some people don't have drink from cans and Shabbos.
And also,
So now it's also opening the thing. Yeah, what?
so there's some cans like the drop cans of Guinness that set off the CO2.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Somebody, some people don't do it,
Okay, so building on Shabbos, you're not allowed to build, right? But destroying on Shabbos, you're not allowed to destroy. So now let's say your kids make a beautiful tent in the middle of the house, right in the dining room. and then you have guests coming over,
Stays.
you stays, you can't take it away because you're destroying. Now again, the speak with your rabbi exactly what's considered a tent, what's not considered. It could be that if it's just like really a joke, it's fine. But if it's a serious structure, they put serious boxes and put serious blankets or whatever, that might be a problem. The last halacha we're going to learn today is makbeh patish, which means the last bang, as it's called, and anything which is the last bang. For example, I would imagine tradition soup, right? So you could eat it technically when it's dry, right? So can you cook it on Shabbos, right? So even though you're not really cooking it, let's say, let's give you an example. I don't know if it's a good example. For example, maybe it also gives is fish that you need to wash for the last thing you do is wash it with hot water. So these things should select. So even though it's not cooking, but it's considered makbeh patish.
Instant soup, can you put the hot water?
What?
The hot water is already.
You can't do instant soup. No, you can't because like I said, you're either cooking or you're doing makbeh patish.
But instant soup is cooked.
What?
Instant soup is already cooked.
Yes, but it's not finished. Is that you eat instant soup? Maybe you should also eat oatmeal from the bag, fill it in your mouth. You know? Okay. So let's say, for example, for the example they give over here, which is not applicable to us, is if you have stones ready to build in your house and you make them straight. The last thing before you put them on the wall, you like flatten them. The stones, not bricks. Bricks are straight, but stones are usually round, so you have to flatten them. So those things, that's an example for makbeh patish. Or for example, if you have clothes, you sewed clothes, again we don't do this, and then you have some leftover strings on top and you take out the strings, that's the last thing, that's considered makbeh patish. Okay, so we're gonna do a few more. One more. If you capture an animal on Shabbos, which this is actually very, in Florida especially, very connected to us, you can't capture an animal in any way on Shabbos unless it's dangerous, right? So, of course, if you capture an animal in your house and he's an ant and you close the door, it's not capture, right? But if you have a deer running into your house, that's sort of capturing, right? So it depends what exactly you're dealing, what type of animal you're dealing with. You can't hook up. It's not okay.
But if it's dangerous, it can.
Bee is dangerous. You ever stung by a bee?
Yes.
That was fine.
But if it could be lethal if it's baby.
It could be in 1/1,000,000th of a chance.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now it could be maybe you shouldn't walk outside on Shabbos because no, you should drive because if you walk, you might slip.
No, you see in the souk in Chicago and a lot of bees.
Okay,
and they could kill the baby, no?
No.
No.
I was a very little kid and the bee was stuck on Sukkot, by the way, in my shirt, and it was stuck, so I couldn't get out. So the bee was stuck. Maybe it was a wasp. It was like five bites. And I was fine. Not after an hour. So
It wasn't a bee.
it was a wasp. It was a wasp.
The bee, hello, does not want to sting you because it stings you.
Okay.
And it's dead.
So now the general rule is any place which it takes one, you don't need to move in order to capture the animal, right? So if the room like this and you put the deer in, so technically it's not a problem because you need to walk more to grab it. He's not stuck. And a place where he's stuck, that is a place where you're high. But if it's bigger than that, you should not do it, but you're not chayiv on one of the on the malachas. If you capture deers with dogs, again, no one's doing that today. It's considered chayiv. If a deer runs into your house and you lock the door, deer walks into your house and you lock the door, you don't need to chase him into your house. He walks into your house, you lock the door, chayiv. What if he's an altakaker, as they call him? He's somebody. It's very easy to catch. There's no reason really to catch him. He's sitting. He can't even walk. Then it's the putter. So any animal which is really really slow and you technically do not need to catch it. If you catch it, you're putter, which means you're not chayiv, which means in the Torah you're exempt, but you should not do it. What if it's a dangerous animal? He says even if they don't kill, if they bite. I don't know what that means, but this is what it says. You could catch them on Shabbos only in order to save yourself, not as an excuse because you want to catch them. So what does this mean? You put a keli on them, you put a vessel on them, or you tie them in order. But basically the point is you should only do it in order not to capture them, but in order that they should not be able to. For example, alligators, they put the bag on their mouth, they can't do anything. Right? Yeah. Okay, everyone have a good night.